Well, good afternoon, all. I am Nadia Cameron, the publisher and editor of CMO from IDG, which, in case you don't know, is an independent publication that looks at both the intersection of marketing and technology and the state of modern marketing leadership. So I'm very delighted to be part of the event today, and our panel, which is called Battle of the Screens, bringing brand advertising into the digital age. So, of course, brand advertising used to be simple. The bigger the budget, the bigger the platform, the bigger the push, the more brand recognition and consumer mindset you might actually achieve. Now, brands have to contend with all sorts of fragmented audiences across multiple devices who are expecting personalised experiences. So the idea with the panel is to talk about how brands are actually navigating this new world of cross-screen advertising and the power of video as part of that strategy. So with that, I'd like to call up Nicole McInnes, Marketing Director of eHarmony, Kate Whitney, who's the Global Director, Digital Director of Pernod Ricard, and Claire Smith, who's the Digital and Customer Marketing Director for Village Roadshow. Please join me in welcoming the ladies on stage. And you've got an all-lady panel, which is rare but fantastic to see. So thanks, ladies, very much for joining us today. So looking at this, and as an initial starting point, what does traditional sort of TV broadcast budget look like today versus a couple of years ago? I think we need to set the scene on that first. And Nicole, maybe if I can start with you.
Yeah, I mean, eHarmony's been using TV really solidly as a always-on channel for many, many years now, and we've only just started to decrease that percentage in the budget. So we've gone, I think, from about 80% down to 60% in 2 years, and that presents a lot of challenges for us, and that's why we're experimenting a lot with video at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. What's the ratio look like in your organisation then?
I'd say we've gone from 50s down to low 30s. And that's because we're doing a lot of online video and a lot of mobile video. And that's working for us. But we've gone back to other traditional medias that I thought weren't as trackable, like outdoor. So we're loving outdoor still. But we're combining it with that mobile video.
Yeah.
So it seems to be a really new balance.
So just looking at video then, I mean, how important is it for you in terms of what purpose it's serving?
Well, yeah, we at the Wines and Spirits love video. It's a very it's a social product. We love telling a story behind a brand. So be it a winemaker, a tasting note, an occasion, the meal occasion's important, and trying to represent that in film is that much more. It's that much easier on video than it is in a still or in something with a lot of type on it. So gone are the days of tasting notes and a single glass of wine and a cheese board. I think we've got to be a lot more engaging, and our consumers love watching occasions. And we love a hype reel at Pernod. We're well into having beautiful high-end VIP events, and we found out quite quickly that our VIP events make great content. So we shoot the event, and then that turns into video content with the right music and the right supers.
Yeah.
And it's stuff people cannot get enough of.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Claire, how about in terms of the sort of traditional TV versus the digital video? Where's that sort of sitting for you at the moment?
Yeah, so being a films distribution business, and our whole montage is video, that's all we do. Our key piece of marketing is a trailer. So we've really moved from being about 18% digital to 24% digital, and that's really only been in the last couple of years for us. And really what we're looking to do is experiment with trailer drops. So we don't do trailer drops anymore on traditional channels. It's all done through social and YouTube, and and our spends and how much we actually put behind a trailer is really where we're experimenting, and where that's kind of pushing up the digital spend, because we feel that if we can launch a trailer and launch it really well, then when we get into the end season, it's a much easier job.
Right, okay. So looking at this then, and again, we're talking cross-screen here as well, nothing sits in isolation anymore. How have all of you attempted to sort of better unite that traditional spend with digital investments, or the above the line versus below the line hookup? Maybe you can share a couple of examples with us. Nicole, if you mind.
We sort of, as we've sort of got all this great sort of data coming out of digital, we've tried to push traditional into sort of a digital measurability sort of world. So we run our TV spot list through software in the UK that map to our registration, so we can see what a cost per acquisition for a TV ad is. But the problem with that is that we're also measuring all of our digital channels with last click, so there's de-duping exercise to do, and that's why I love what Adobe's doing, because I so want to get my hands on it. But so we manually sort of look at those sort of CPAs for the different channels. We optimise digital on a weekly basis because we can. TV is a lot harder, and again, it's like to get our hands on a dashboard where we could actually start to do that a little bit more. I don't know how that's going to go with the veils in Australia, which seem to be always really hard to get.
Right.
So we try to unify to one specific KPI, and that really helps the team, and it also helps talking to the stakeholders about what we're trying to do and how much money we put into every channel.
Okay. Talking of measurement then, Claire, how does that start to play for you when we start to talk about those sorts of measures of success?
Sure. And for us, it's really challenging. Like, I don't know anybody who can do it really well, especially when you're a middleman like us. Like, the retailers don't share data with us, so the exhibitors, so like your cinema chains, don't tell us, you put this person to our website and it resulted in a sale, which would just be amazing. So we measure intent. That's kind of our biggest kind of indication of success of a campaign, and we can only really use buttons on our website to go, well, they clicked from here to a retailer, so that's intent. We've driven that intent. And the majority of the KPIs we use around campaigns are all awareness, because we're building brands and we have to build brands very quickly and push them out the market to then bring in another one. So we do about 60 titles a year, theatrical. So each one of those has to be built literally from a standing stop very, very quickly, and then it moves out. So what we learn from each campaign is really, really difficult, because the genre changes. The title changes, the star power of the cast changes. So you're constantly juggling, what metrics to attach to each campaign. And once a movie launches, we advertise Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we pull out. So if that tanks on that weekend, we've spent all our money, we've made all our decisions, and it's a bit like... but it's a really challenged environment for us, and we're constantly trying to baseline campaigns, and we baseline genres because that's the closest we can get to it, and then we put some KPIs around intent. And I'm sure
I was thinking it must be the same challenge, not only from getting the data, but also the different brands that you actually have.
Yeah, so we're very similar. We would keep TV, I guess, as brand building, and for example, for Jacobs Creek in Australia, we would do brand building TVC schedule probably on pay, just for the sheer nicheness of those channels, like lifestyle and lifestyle food. If you think about that in terms of finding an audience that we can at least somewhat rely on to be interested in wine in the moment, and also the ability to buy in day parts, then we would put, for the cross-screen moment, product-related content in social that would match with that, and pre-rolls, et cetera, so that in that same hour we've got that content playing, which has got a bit more grab to it, a bit more product information. And then we do the exact same thing, which is intent to buy, because we can't track to the retailer like you can't. But what we can do is learn more, click to buy, shop now, find me a retailer, and that we count as one product sold. Now, whether or not it's sold, but it's an even playing field then.
Yeah.
I think the issue you have when you can actually see the sale come through and get that metric back, and the stakeholders that you have to talk to about those metrics, is that it does drive you away from brand building, and actually it can stop you from being as creative as you could be or as human as you could be. And so you say you use TV for brand building. It's like, if you're measuring TV the way we are, we can't actually do that. It has to be brand response, is what I call it. But even putting a little bit of brand into the latest eHarmony campaigns was very hard for our headquarters, because they are looking at the response rate of every creative that we run. So I think that digital has a double-edged sword to it, that it can actually drive us away from brand platforms that have been shown to build growth over time. And we get this short-term sort of focus where everyone's excited because it's real time and it's real, it's coming out of software. But, you know, for the business as a whole, it's up to us to go, well, wait a minute, we still have to do this job over here for the midterm.
And the
I'm not
courage
even
of the
going to say
marketing leader for that.
long-term doesn't even get mentioned, but, you know, I mention midterm carefully with my CEO. So,
yeah, and I think that's an ongoing challenge with digital, whatever form it's actually taking, right? I mean, on the one hand, it's great because it's giving you those measurements and that granularity, but on the other, it encourages you to think short-term granularity, etc., instead of thinking those big, bold ideas. We were talking a little earlier before we came on stage, just in terms of how you then, you know, gauge the different levels of success. And Nicole, you did mention that you're working on a couple of different ways, and one of the challenges you've had is seeing that sort of spike in registrations from TV versus digital too.
I wish Sam was on the panel too. He could probably answer this question better than I could. But the whole thing about video, what we've seen is that we can't. The great thing about TV is, even at quite small levels, I can see a spike in our top-line registrations. Like, it's just a lever we can pull and we see the registrations go up. We haven't found a digital channel that can do that, but to be fair to those digital channels, we expect them to be cheaper. So we put a quarter of the investment in and say, right, we didn't see top-line sales go up, but we're kind of misled by the reach. So the reach of, say, Facebook video is you know, when they say, look at this reach, compared to the reach we're getting on TV, it eclipses it. But what we're finding is we haven't unlocked that scale yet, and we're testing different content, specific content for the platform, one-on-one formats, short form 6 seconds versus 2 minutes, and all sorts of things to try and unlock the reach and get that scale that TV, after, you know, being in existence for years and years, delivers still.
Yeah. Again, you've just touched on the content question there, and I think when we were talking earlier, it's safe to say that we've moved past this idea that TV content just goes into digital video and everything's fabulous. But we did share just a couple of stories earlier about how digital content can be pervasive as well. And it'd be great if we can just share those examples with the audience in terms of how you've seen, on the flip side of that, I guess, the influence of digital video really starting to help your brands.
Yeah.
Who wants to grab that first?
Okay, I'll take it. I think for us, you know, we have filmmakers at the other end of our trailers. So if we turn around to someone like Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino and we go, hey guys, this 2.5 minutes, we're going to make it 10 seconds because that's what works on Facebook. It's a really, really difficult conversation, and I'm not going to do it. I can tell you that right now. So, you know, so we are seeing lots and lots of change in our industry, and the movie industry has been probably one of the slowest to change because it's art, it's craft, what these people do, and it's like their children. They put so much love and care and attention into this. So when you see a cut of a trailer, that's the director's view, and that's what they want to do. So what we're doing is trying to use assets very differently. So we get things like live art where there's a little bit of movement on it. That works really well for us on Facebook. A 2.5-minute trailer works its socks off on YouTube, versus, you know, a 3-second GIF, again, is really good for us in Insta. So we're really trying to experiment with assets to bring it to life, but also to be mindful of the creator of our content and not kind of start snipping up their trailers. But it's definitely a challenge for us because nobody sits on Facebook and watches 2.5 minutes of content. It's all mobile, it's all quick, they're just skimming through as quickly as they can. And to get that thumb stop, we have to make it really quick, and get it across what we're actually trying to tell. And going back to previous presentations where people are talking about the storytelling, that's the biggest challenge for us, is how would we be able to tell a story if we didn't have a 2.5-minute trailer?
And it also raises a question as to how that content's being produced and the relationship you have with the agencies that you're potentially working with to do that. So again, I mean, how are you both seeing you know, the types of content you need to produce to make digital video work? How's that starting to change that side as well?
Don't start me. I think
the point where we have the swearing.
Yeah.
Oh, you want?
I was warned there might be swearing.
I don't want to swear. Not yet. I might get inspired at some point. But the thing that is interesting, I think, about content creation is that we just took digital content from the US that was developed at about 1/10 of the cost of my TVC that I did last August, and put it on TV here. So you can look at our 2 ads that are running under the Spark campaign on YouTube if you want to compare the quality. And what I think hasn't happened in the creative side is, as digital has completely revolutionised how we think about advertising, creative agencies are still talking to me about retainers and like even when I come to them with projects or trying to do agile sort of quick turnaround, lots of variations that we can test, it's always like, well, we'll only do that if you're locked in for 12 months. And it's just like, what? Like, well, how can I optimise in that model? So they haven't actually thought through, we need that fast turnaround, quick iteration content, and we need agencies to come with us. And the ones that are sort of coming along are the ones that are doing it cost effectively and still maintaining the quality.
Yeah. We've got 2 ways that we've changed, I think, significantly in 12 months. The first is we've all but stopped showing our CMO and our CEO the latest brand asset, and we do a lot of master brand assets for 80 countries. We've stopped that boardroom presentation, albeit we might still have the boardroom presentation, but when there starts to be questions about the colour of the grape leaf or whatever it is, I go, now look at it on your mobile. And when they see it on the mobile, all of that goes out the window, and we get a lot of different responses, and we start to slap, you know, a few more supers on and a few more subtitles and a bit more branding comes up, which would be sacrosanct if you were to try and do that on the big boardroom version. Yeah. That's one thing, which is, and we've actually now started to do 1-by-1 formats, and we show those with the results as we're doing the presentation. So don't forget, we've gone from this to this for this reason. So there's a lot of that training going on during the creative presentation. And the other thing is we now have the agencies still with that beautiful creative process, and we won't lose that process, but that's the master asset that's delivered, and then we have in-house content production to manipulate all the different assets that come off that. Right. Cheaply and effectively in a much more agile way than we could before. So, and that's happening in Pernod Ricard offices all over the world, is this little kind of pop-up content studios just for the purpose of making the most out of our agency dollars. Spend it on the production, guys. Don't spend it on the edits. Yeah. You know, we can do that in-house.
Yeah, there's certainly a trend I'm hearing a lot of as well when talking to marketers locally, that one of the most in-sourced capabilities is actually that sort of content production or manipulation.
The iteration.
And I mean, if you look at that in a wider context, we are talking about, you know, moving to personalisation and one-to-one. How does video content, digital video, actually fit in that bill? Again, one of the reasons that people are doing this is to gain the agility around the content, but also because you need so much more of it in order to be personalised. So looking at that sort of trend, I guess, of personalisation versus the trend of digital video, how do the two fit together?
Very difficultly. Yeah. it's really hard, right? Because, you know, we could look at any film and there's different aspects of the film that would appeal to you, to you, to you. It would all be different. And if we wanted to cut stuff to appeal to all of our audiences, like we'd just have millions and millions of trailers. Yeah. But having said that, we would love to get to that point. So what we try and do is we slice and dice our audiences and then only serve up our campaigns to those people that we know will actually be receptive to it, and then try and bring them back into our ecosystem, acquire them, and then start to do that personalised one-on-one. So video becomes a nice to have in that ecosystem that just keeps them sticky, but we really want to bring everybody into our ecosystem, and that's how we personalise and manage the one-to-one. But we've got a title coming out 4 weeks. All Eyes on Me. Anybody who is a rapper fan, it's the Tupac story. Anyone? Come see me. I'll give you tickets. But we're going to do hyper personalisation on that because we managed to identify certain suburbs in each of the states where in the youth of those kind of areas, Tupac really spoke to those individuals. So we're doing hyper-localization where we're only serving out ads with the geo around that. We're serving out ads that point to the cinemas that are in that geo. So, and that's kind of us getting closer towards that personalisation. But the one-to-one is en masse is always the dream, but
yeah,
tough.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone will ever actually quite get there, but certainly we're all striving for it. Kate, how about, again, on your side, given you haven't necessarily had that direct relationship with the end buyer, again, this personalisation trend and bringing video into that mix, how's that work for you?
Yeah, it's a bit of a dream. I think we're at the moment trying to match a SKU to a segment, if you like. So a little bit like your film goes with that particular segment. Ours are broken down into, of those 300 SKUs that we've got to sell for JC, we would then try and break that into as many segments as we can. And now we've moved one step below that, which is called a moment of conviviality. So where is the segment in that moment, in that day part? And it might be between 6 and 7 p.m. on a Friday, is very different between 8 and 9 p.m. on a Friday because there's food or there isn't food. So the personalisation bit, no, as in it's not for Kate Whitney, but it's definitely timed to a moment in that person's day. And when you think about from a global context, one of the things we've done is we've stopped having Christmas at Jacobs Creek with gum trees and sunshine and green grass because that doesn't mean anything in the Northern Hemisphere. They think we're all high. So I think we've just trying to work out across all of our different regions how to create the same piece of content and give it to them so it has the maximum amount of relevance and motivation for every single segment in the maximum day part. And we give every bit of content now with a kind of a guiding principle for how you should place this in media and some tips on those KPIs that I talked about before, as well as, look for this day part or look for this moment of conviviality in your media schedule and go it like that. So it's a guidebook, I guess.
Yeah, sure. And it just raises another question around the technology investment side. Clearly, in terms of sort of capitalising on this cross-screen opportunity, we've seen a lot of personalisation come through on the MarTech piece and obviously the known customer and so on. But we're now seeing a lot more of a blurring of a line between the MarTech and the ad tech. Clearly, Adobe's Advertising Cloud is the standout example of that. So, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say your integration efforts are sort of across those two fields? And again, how does video sort of potentially straddle those?
I actually had a meeting with Jared the other day, and he used this phrase, a Frankenstack. That's kind of where we are. There's a little bit of everything in there. There's a little bit of the people in Mountain View. There's a little bit of Adobe. There's a little bit of Salesforce, and that's really come through IT making decisions before marketing were involved, and I'm sure.
We could have a whole nother panel.
Yeah. Anybody want to stick around for that discussion? And that's really tough when your kind of corporate IT is making decisions on web platforms and email platforms, and then you get to make decisions on analytics platforms, and so you end up with a stack that is quite difficult to integrate, and then you get really scared that you've already invested so much time and energy and money and built up all of these technologies to go, that was actually the wrong tech, and we need to pull out and we need to go somewhere else. And, so I think a really strong IT partner is definitely the key to getting your ad tech and your MarTech working really well together. And I mean, we are experimenting with bringing our media in-house and trading our media in-house and really looking at what that gives us and what kind of controls that gives us, because ultimately we want to be able to be as effective as we possibly can with our marketing dollars, running it through our stack, and for it to pay off at the other end, that it's given us all of those wonderful KPIs that Kate, you talked about. That's kind of the end goal, is really making it effective.
And Nicole, I mean, from the way you were talking about the different measurement systems, you've obviously got some link going on there as well. But, looking at that MarTech, AdTech collision, I mean, how is that helping you from an advertising point of view?
Yeah, well, I think, from an idealism point of view, we're probably an 8. From an operational point of view, we're probably like a 5, because it's still manual and it's all there. Like, we've got all the data. So, that's where we're doing well. We just need to pull it together and start making really faster decisions on it. So, and it's ironic really, because we've got this sort of hyper-personalised algorithm running our product that makes every person unique in a sense, and we know everything about them, which is so much that we just pull back and target to age and gender. Because, I mean, until they go through the process, you know, it's
Creepy.
that's where the personalisation happens, not with the marketing, which is sort of a paradox for us. But it's we dehumanise really on the marketing side because we target to a cost per acquisition. So we just look for single and propensity to register. So it's kind of weird what.
Yeah.
So I like the Frankenstat. That was
good, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to steal that.
I think we can have even more conversation about that too. And I'm conscious of our time as well. So, look, just bringing it back to video, and I guess the possibilities. I had two last questions for you all. One was, as you're looking at a video coming into the advertising, and I guess, you know, this cross-channel, cross-screen challenges we're having, what are the important things to you as a brand, like in terms of things like brand safety? I mean, for example, we've obviously seen some challenges around YouTube and people pulling advertising because of that. But looking at that, the viewability, the brand safety, some of those things that we're talking about in the market, how important are those? And I guess any last lessons that you've learnt so far around digital video. So
You go, Kate.
yeah, Kate starts.
I think our brand safety it's a new and exciting thing for us to worry about. So we worry about a lot of stuff in wine. We get over-regulated, in my opinion, and the Australian and French lawyers are both clear that that's my current stance. But I think what we have to do is be quite responsible in making sure that back to the media dollar, if the media dollar is being spent sensibly and with the right metrics behind it, we're pretty safe. We're still going around training our markets on brand safety and all of the things that can go on with fraud and marketplace. I guess it's an advertiser's nightmare right now if you don't have a good partner. So the lesson is find the best partner you can who can teach you so that you can teach your teams what to look for. And Tube have been with us on this journey for 2 years now at least. And I don't think we would have an understanding of it and the perils of it to have avoided it for so long. And we have avoided it. You know, as I said, we've got the lawyers crawling all over us for other reasons, but brand health is not one of them. So we've narrowly escaped, but I think it's because we've got good partners.
Yeah, Cole?
Yeah, well, trust in the area of finding love when you're most vulnerable. I mean, our biggest, one of our spikes is after midnight. So you can tell what state of mind our customers are in. So we have to be very careful with them. And of course, there's always people trying to scam vulnerable older women, seemingly. So we've got a really big trust. We've got to maintain that trust with our customers, and we've got a big team in LA that makes sure that we do that. But I think, I mean, the things that you start getting served once you join eHarmony, that's interesting. So, you know, Russian brides started turning up on my landing page at work, which is great. So yeah, we have to be really careful because, of course, brand safety. If eHarmony, it is a trusted brand currently. So if it turns up in the wrong place, that can really erode that and have a direct impact on our registration. So it's important to us. Like Kate said, we make sure that we've got an up-to-date whitelist, and we're always looking at it, and up-to-date blacklist as well, of course.
Yeah, of course.
With our partners.
Last word.
It's long for love, let me tell you. A long blacklist.
I'll make mine really short because I know you're all dying to get out. Basically, for us, it's brand safety and viewability, and we are always trying to measure the dollars so that we don't spend too much to get viewability and we don't spend too much to do brand safety that we end up throttling our campaigns. And I guess the one lesson I would say, or the one kind of piece of advice is just don't give up. You'll never get it right. You'll always be learning. It's really, for me, digital is a journey, because I've said it to one of my team the other day. It's like every time I have a meeting and I think I've got it, new things happen and I'm just like, oh God. So that would be mine.
I think that's the message from the whole conference.
Definitely.
And with that, please join me in thanking our panellists today.